Hello and welcome to Business Insider with Mario Toneguzzi on YYC Business. Joining me today is John Duda, who is President of Real Estate Management Services for Colliers Canada. Thanks for joining us today, John.
You're welcome, Mario. It's nice to be here. Thanks for having me.
All right, super. We're talking about a report that Colliers put out recently called Office Recovery, the Great Experiment. And we all know, through COVID, there's been a lot of changes in the workplace. And a couple of things that I found interesting, John, from that report, 58% of companies said that they will embark on some sort of hybrid work solution for employees going forward. Can you talk a little bit about that and what that could mean and how that could look?
Well, that is the topic, I think, for most companies now, is what to do next. We've been in this work from home situation now for close to a year across the country and across the globe. And we're seeing that certain aspects of it work, but also certain aspects of it don't work well. Employee well-being has declined, productivity has declined, but there are also some people who are working better from home. So what companies are saying right now in general, and if you look at some of the stats below the 58% that are experimenting, 2/3 of the people don't know what to do. So that's why we feel this is going to be an experiment. And ultimately, what is going to influence a business is their productivity. It's top of mind. There was over a 20% drop in productivity on average with lockdown and during COVID. So if that productivity doesn't pick up, the work from home will be far more difficult. But I think people are going to try and be flexible. I know us, with our employees, we're going to try and be flexible and see how it works. If it works well, we'll continue. If it doesn't work well, then we would not be able to.
Okay. What I found really interesting is that only 2% would look at remote work as a full-time option. That seems to me quite a low percentage, considering the times that we're in and the trend, right? People getting used to working from home. Heck, I've been working from home for 5 years now, more than 5 years. Does that surprise you that that low of a number?
Well, I would have said probably 8 months ago, 9 months ago, I would have thought, yeah, that seems surprisingly low. But what's happened over the past year is things have gotten worse for people. And I think that is evident across the board. People are finding there's more mental health issues. There's more problems with families, and work is getting harder. We're seeing this COVID fatigue settle in. And now I'm not surprised.
Nah.
And, it's fairly consistent with some of the studies that were done pre-COVID on a work from home environment, where the companies like IBM, they had a broad work from home policy and then completely retracted the entire thing and ordered everybody back into the office. Yeah. But it took a couple years before the productivity dwindled. So it just got lower and lower over time. And we're kind of seeing a similar thing here now. So I'm not surprised.
Well, it's funny you say that, right? Because, there are obviously a lot of challenges with remote work and work from home. Beyond the technical stuff is just a lot of the issues of juggling people in the household, right? And
Exactly.
I go through that almost every day myself as well, right? It's kind of funny because just the other day, one of the reporters for one of the television stations was asking a question to Alberta Premier Jason Kenney, right, at a news conference, a virtual news conference, and you could hear the screaming of kids in the background, right? It was kind of humorous, but and although I think a lot of people have gotten used to some of these challenges, I agree with you. I think the workplace sometimes is the best option for people, isn't it?
Yeah, and all jobs are different, right? All people
Yeah,
are different, jobs are different, so it's not going to have a consistent impact on people. Like if you live in a 600 square foot condo, working from home, living at home is probably not a good thing.
yeah,
So but if you have a huge home and you're working in the country, maybe you can get out more. It
yeah,
might not be as bad.
yeah.
So I think it depends on the individual and the type of job that you do.
Yeah, it's funny. I just to talk a little bit more about this whole issue. I know everybody's different, and some people enjoy working from home, but others enjoy the office. I'm on the side of working from home. I love it, and as I said, I have done it for more than 5 years now, full time. But I have a colleague and friend who just loves going to work, right? And he gets dressed up, puts on his suit, etc., gets up, goes to work, even though he can do work remotely for the most part. But his comment is, when I put on my clothes and go to work, it's like I'm walking onto the field at Yankee Stadium. I know it's game time, right?
Yeah, that's exactly it. Yeah, that separation of work and space can be helpful to a lot of people, where you can wind down, go home, but now it's like you're always on, working from home. It doesn't stop. So that isn't healthy. You do need that break. But like I said, you figured it out.
Yeah.
It works for you, but for some, it doesn't.
Yeah, I wanted to. The last thing I wanted to explore with you, John, is vacancy rates. And we're coming from Calgary here, where I'm based, and we know the situation in Calgary with downtown office vacancy rates north of 30% and have been for a while. What I found interesting on your report was that you're looking at office vacancy increasing in general overall 5.7% in Canada within the next 4 years. Tell me a little bit about that and why you see that vacancy rate rising overall.
Well, I think it's consistent. The number is actually consistent from the beginning of the pandemic. So I think people have a good sense of what they're going to do in the short term, and I'll qualify that. This is what they're thinking they're going to do in the short term. So when their lease expires, they're just going to deal with less space, but they're not dropping out of the space as it exists today. So I think this is about the new work environment. What it doesn't account for is growth. So if they're going to see a significant growth coming out of this lockdown economy that we're in, that could be a different scenario as the growth takes place. The other factor that has now come in, and if you go a little bit further down the report, so we could still have a 5.7% decline in terms of vacancy, but a 6% increase in co-working. Now, I found it quite interesting that both these numbers are almost the same. So that, what we're saying to owners is this is something to watch closely, because let's say you had a 6% drop in vacancy, but you can beef that back up by putting in flexible and co-working space to balance the scenarios out. That could be a very attractive solution, both for the businesses and for the owners of the real estate.
When you mention co-working, I'm just thinking, are you also talking about those specific spaces that actually rent out office space? Not where you actually lease long term, but you go in and out type thing.
Correct. So, and we're really calling it flexible space because
Yeah,
the nature of co-working is evolving. So, WeWork financially was not going well. It never went well. And both the owners and those companies are trying to find solutions. And there is a lot of experimenting going on, and not just here in Canada, but around the globe.
yeah.
But there's clearly a need for it. So it's a question of finding a financial solution that works both for the owners, for the tenants, and coming up probably with different scenarios. A one-type solution will not suit everybody. We think there will probably be 3 or 4 different distinct types of co-working space. And we're going to try and help our owners figure out what those are and what makes sense for particular buildings.
Okay, super. Well, thanks very much for joining us today, John.
You're very welcome, Mariel. Thanks for having me. Good chatting with you.
All right, great. That was John Duda, who is president of Real Estate Management Services for Colliers Canada. This has been Business Insider with Mario Toneguzzi on YYC Business. Thanks for joining us today.